Welcome to Doomscroll. I'm Matt Sheffield.
And I'm Lisa Curry. And today we are joined by my hilarious friend, comedian David Whitey. Hey, how are you?
Hey, hey, what's going on? I'm terrific. How's everybody?
Good, good. Just another day
Good.
here in Paradise, USA.
Yeah. Although, you know what? There was some actual good news that happened in the
Mhm,
past few days. Actually, which is pretty rare that our first two stories are good ones.
mhm.
And the first one is that Steve Bannon, the walking corpse, who is also the leader of MAGA, is going to have to go to jail. He has the judge who had originally been in charge of the trial of his contempt of Congress trial says he has to go to jail, and has to report July 1st. So that's very good, very good.
I love it. I just wish he was like in some really rough county jail. It's kind of like bittersweet for me because we all know he's not going to be anywhere where he might be roughed up, you know?
I think that he's going to be really popular there. I think that the gang is going to love him. I don't know, man. I like that guy. What does he look like at this point? Like when he was at the height of his career, he looked like about as unemployed as anyone ever has. Like I haven't checked in on old Steve in a while.
Yeah, you know what he looks like? You know when you're a kid and you like scrape your knee, you run and fall somewhere and then you're submerged in a pool for a long time and you come out and your scab is kind of white. That's what he looks like.
Yeah, basically, he's like if Jabba the Hutt was having a bad day, that's what he would
He's
look like.
entered entered the necrosis stage of alcoholism at this point.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, yes, no, exactly, and I mean, but he's going to be out of commission all the way until the very beginning of November, and so it will be interesting to see what happens to his podcast. I actually,
Actually, we're
if
taking it over, Matt. I think this is a good time to announce.
hey,
We're
we
inheriting
would,
his
yeah,
podcast.
yeah, man, his audience's brains would explode if that happened. I would love to see it though. Like they would all have aneurysms.
Who
But then, of course, speaking of another necrotic douchebag, Alex Jones is in the news for after. So he lost his court hearing for defaming the parents of Sandy Hook Elementary, whose children were killed, and Alex Jones said that they faked it. He lost that case years ago, but has not paid a cent to the parents
Mhm.
because of all his tricky lawyer scheming. And now he has basically realized, oh, all I was doing was making it more expensive for myself. And so I'm going to liquidate InfoWars, is what he has said. He's going to sell it and it's finally start paying his bills. So as I said, two good news items, pretty rare. um,
I just like who what is next for InfoWars? Because like I feel like usually when a media company gets sold now, it's to some like it's to like a private equity company that's just gonna gut it for parts. And it would be really
Mhm.
interesting to see that happen to something that was already dog shit.
Yeah, yeah.
Like they ruined
um,
Deadspin. I want to see what the private equity version of this is. Sorry, am I allowed to swear on this? I forget to ask.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
definitely.
I'm proud to say
Well,
I was locked out of my Instagram for like a week a while back because I posted in my stories that Alex Jones should be beaten to death in public, and I do stand by that. I am glad to have the collab feature back, but I still hold that opinion.
hey, if he wants to do a collab, we're down for
Yeah.
it. um, but you know what though, like no, but David, that is a good point though, because the entire brand of InfoWars is him. So if he's not the owner of it, it's not worth anything. I would think. Now, granted, normal people have no interest in InfoWars, but like the audience that he has, like they fucking worship this guy, and so I would think that. I mean, if anybody bought it, like one of the preconditions would have to be you still have to be involved in it in some way or another. Like otherwise, they've just wasted their money, and the thing has no real assets of any consequence except like video cameras.
I
As far
feel
as
like
I
they
can
could.
tell.
I feel like they could pivot and turn it into some kind of like religious fanatic podcast, because I mean, like just a mega church could buy it out, because
He's
there is
doing
so
that,
much
yeah.
crossover. He's doing
Oh,
a mega
well,
church?
sorry. He kind of is doing that. Like you are actually on point 100%. Like if you, because
Wait,
I
he
used
owns a mega
to.
church? I'm so confused. What do you mean?
No, I mean if you listen to his show, he's constantly talking about demons and God
Oh yeah.
and Satan all over, taking over the
I
world and all
don't
this imaginary bullshit.
I
So
don't
it would
listen to his
totally
show.
fit.
I haven't listened to it because I do value my peace. Just a tiny bit.
Just
Yeah.
change it into Our Father of Perpetual Redness or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
I mean,
watched the
go
Sorry, I
ahead.
watched the documentary on HBO about this, and like I've never really followed any of this particularly closely, but something that really jumped out to me is like the rogues gallery of like other guys who work at InfoWars, which I wasn't familiar with any of these psychos before, but it's just like I mean, Alex Jones is Alex Jones now. Like, what about if the stuff that he has said is like half understood and then said by a guy with less charisma? It feels like the entire staff over there. So I do hope all
Pretty
those
much,
guys
yeah.
land on their feet.
Yeah, I mean either a megachurch or I could see a cryptocurrency person buying it totally. Like that
I
would
can't
sell
Oh,
believe they're
it
not
absolutely.
already in there.
perfectly.
Those people are so easily fooled. I mean, there should just be like a national email list of the easily fooled, so that the rest of us can make a little fucking money off of them.
Well, that's I mean, a lot has been made of it already, but like when Elon took over Twitter and his like the biggest problem is bots, and it's like everyone is like, what is he talking about? But it's like if you're Elon, of course you think the biggest problem is bots because you get a ton of replies from them because your fans are so fucking stupid and credulous. Like
Yeah.
there's a reason they're all in there. It's because like the people who like you have proven that they can be trusted to make bad decisions. It's
Yeah.
it's
Yeah,
like
no, it's true.
the Nigerian prince scandal. Like part of the reason why it's so implausible on its face is to filter out the people who would be like, oh, I don't
Yes.
know about this, and that's like how this works. It's just like so yeah. I mean, basically,
It's true. They don't spell check their messages on purpose because if you're smart enough to know that those words are misspelled, then you're not going to fall for the scam.
right.
Well, and they do. There's another thing that this is kind of tangential, but to your point with the misspelling, I know a lot of internet trolls, their thing is they will intentionally misspell something because they know that liberals will be like, it's actually there. And then it just drives more traffic to their account. And it's like, guys, we don't, of all the issues in the world, you don't need to be replying to MAGA psychos to correct their spelling. Like, let them have it.
That's true. I agree. There was a poll that came out, I think it was on Monday, that 35% of Republicans said Trump had not been indicted for interfering in the 2020 election. They said this had not happened. It's like they had no idea, and like it's just fucking absurd. And but just as another example of what we're talking about here, like I mean, Trump is a mental patient, and he showed that over the weekend at one of his Hitler rallies.
And it must be because of MIT, my relationship to MIT. Very smart. He goes, I say, what would happen if the boat sank from its weight and you're in the boat and you have this tremendously powerful battery and the battery's now underwater and there's a shark that's approximately
His
10
audience,
yards
look
over
at the
there.
audience
By the
behind
way, a
him.
lot of
They're
shark
just
attacks
staring
lately.
into
Did you notice
space.
that? A lot of shark. I watched some guys justifying it today. Well, they weren't really that angry. They bit off the young lady's leg because of the fact that they were
totally not paying
hungry,
attention
but they
to anything he's
misunderstood
saying.
who she was. These people are crazy. He said there's no problem with sharks. They just didn't really understand a young woman swimming now really got decimated, and other people too. A lot of shark attacks. So I said, so there's a shark 10 yards away from the boat, 10 yards, or here. Do I get electrocuted if the boat is sinking, water goes over the battery, the boat is sinking? Do I stay on top of the boat and get electrocuted, or do I jump over by the shark and not get electrocuted? Because I will tell you, he didn't know the answer. He said, nobody's ever asked me that question. I said, I think it's a good question. I think there's a lot of electric current coming
I wonder
through that water.
why.
But you know what I'd do if there was a shark or you get electrocuted? I'll take electrocution every single time. I'm not getting near the shark. So we're going to...
I love this so much. Like, we literally have had now officially a president that doesn't know what the fuck electricity is. Like, here's the thing. My parents owned a marina when I was a kid. They bought it when I was 7, and I had a boating license when I was 9.
Ooh,
And I believe, wasn't he talking about, he was trying to make a case against like electric motors, I believe, with the gas power. I've only driven gas powered boats, or like I've driven a canoe with a trolling motor, which is just a tiny little motor hooked up to a battery, which is in a canoe almost always fucking soaking wet. And I have never been electrocuted. I have driven boats my entire life, and gas-powered boats also have batteries, sometimes 2 batteries.
Because they're fucking sealed, you dipshit. Like, that for a guy who, like, it's so stupid. Like, they are required by law to be waterproof, those batteries.
He has such a vivid imagination when it comes to like green power and stuff. Like, 'cause I feel like every time that he goes off about something like this, it's always like somehow tangentially related to
it seems like that. Yeah, like windmills cause cancer. Remember that one?
For killing all the birds. Yeah, solar
his
doesn't
frequent
work.
gripes about how you flush the toilet and nothing happens. It's just like like none of my shit's going anywhere. Every time I flush, it's just staying right there. But well,
it's also because he tries to flush classified documents down the toilet as well.
That might be part of it.
The only way any of this is excusable is if he is so fucking high on acid for every one of these rallies. I'd be like, oh, no wonder he's saying crazy shit. Obviously, he's tripping out.
Like, to me, his rallies at this point, like what is going to be very interesting about this election, I think, is that like not only are both candidates 2 years older, Trump, or 4 years older, Trump has just been like he was steadily on TV throughout like the last 2 elections, but he hasn't been really getting the same kind of coverage from the news. They've kind of agreed to not show everything that he says on CNN now. So now he's just sort of off in his own world, just kind of riffing. And it feels like every time that I see a clip from one of his rallies now, it feels like, do you remember when like Dave Chappelle and Dane Cook were going back and forth to see who could do the longest stand-up set ever?
No. Oh no.
There was like this was like 10, 15 years ago. Dave Chappelle and Dane Cook were trading the record back and forth, but it would be like Dave Chappelle did an 8-hour set at the Comedy Store last night or whatever. And every clip that I see from Trump's rallies now just feels like an excerpt from one of those, where it's just he's just going, man.
Well, he's like filibustering himself.
It's like free association, because like in just that little clip, which was like 20 seconds, he was talking about 7 different subjects, none of which were related to it. Like it talks about MIT. What the fuck does MIT have to do with batteries? And then he talks about a woman. Then this woman did a thing. Like you were talking about your conversation with a guy about batteries and a boat. And who's this woman that you're talking? Like he is absolutely like going into a rest home and
See,
talking
and if
to
he
the
was,
patients
if
there.
he had any sense at all, his answer of battery versus shark is you shove the battery with a stick toward the shark, and then you
Yeah,
electrocute the shark.
No, you get the shark to eat the battery, and then you
Perfect.
shoot the battery with a gun as the shark is. I saw Jaws.
Yeah,
Smile,
there you
you
go.
son of a bitch, and then you blow that fucker away.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but while he was doing that, you know, what's even more disturbing is that this guy's clearly, you know, he's clearly a mental patient, has no idea what he's saying at any given point in time, but his supporters worship him. And one of them literally said that, the chairman of the Nevada Republican Party, when he introduced Trump.
What more can be said than thank God we're here in Sunset Park to worship and bring back the greatest president we've ever known in our generation.
I
It looks like
honest to God,
it
when
looks
I
like someone
saw-
Steven Seagalified John Ritter.
I honest to God, just at first glance, thought that was Mike Lindell. And then when you said he was the leader just now, Matt,
Yeah.
in that second that I thought that was Mike Lindell, I was like, oh, they promoted him. The thought would never have occurred to me that they didn't involve him in a bigger way.
Yeah, I mean, you know it's coming. You know it's coming. But like, yeah, and they really do. Like that's the thing about Trump's core appeal is he is like sort of the leader of global idiots. Like he is the first successful idiot in history, the most successful moron in world history, and he's an inspiration to stupid people everywhere. That yes, we can win elections sometimes, and so they really fucking believe that he cares about them. It's so fucking insane. It's like it is idiocracy in real life, and like I don't like being in this movie. Please.
The clip was cut off at the beginning, but who was he asking this hypothetical about sharks and battery? He just said someone from MIT or whatever. And then, like, no, I never heard that before.
I have no idea what that has to do with it. Yeah, so it's just weird. Like, and they say Biden has cognitive problems. It's like
it's just like
Biden has a stutter.
There's a Stephen Wright joke. There's an old Stephen Wright joke where he's like, I asked the scientist if you were going the speed of light and then you turned your headlights on, would they do anything? And it's like, I'm just struck by how similar that is. Like a real question that Donald Trump is going around asking scientists.
Yeah, and like Stephen Wright was high out of his mind when he wrote all of his material. So to Lisa's point about all of that, yeah. So, but then of course, it is the Republican Party also. They are filled with many other people, and Byron Donalds, who is a congressman from Florida and one of the few Black Republicans in office, got in trouble for saying that, quote, during Jim Crow, the Black family was together. And he keeps doubling down on his remarks. And basically, it's just stunning that anyone would want to vote for these people, unless you are a complete sociopath or a moron. But unfortunately, there's a lot of them. I don't know. What's your guys' take on all that? The Byron Donalds thing.
I mean, I personally, I'm putting money on Trump is going to try to run without a running mate. I think. I don't think he wants to share the spotlight with anyone anymore. And I feel like somebody's going to come out and say, well, technically we don't have a rule or whatever. But I can't understand Byron Donalds and Clarence Thomas saying insane shit like, look, I am a white lady accusing these guys of being race traitors, but that's a fucking crazy thing to say, especially because it's like there's so many fucking psychotic, racist white people that would say something like this. And then the second they hear a black man say it, they're like, exactly, this is what we've been saying. You know, enslaved people were provided housing. It wasn't that bad. And it's just like a catalyst for all these other, which the kind of trickle down, if you will, of that is them then saying like, why are black people complaining? They've had it so good. They, you know, like it just leads to so much more racism and madness. I can't imagine being a black person and watching him say this shit.
Yeah, no, totally. It's I mean, a lot of it is self-loathing as well. I think, as some black friends I have said to me about that. Like, yeah, like they, but it is also like a repetition of conventional right-wing ideology. Like they really, like, these guys they believe the same shit that the exact same shit that the people who hated Franklin Roosevelt 100 years ago. They haven't changed their beliefs at all or modified them in any way. And their general answer to poverty is, you're poor because it's your fault.
Or even their rhetoric, right? I mean, like this line, like that ending segregation has been like bad for the black family or whatever. It's exactly the same stuff that people were saying like during the actual struggle for civil rights and stuff like that. I mean, like none of this evolves. It's just the same shit over and over again.
Yep. No, true. And then of course, I guess one of the other kind of never-ending shit shows is the Hunter Biden story. Like the idea that Hunter Biden is relevant to national politics is one of the dumbest things ever. Like, who the fuck cares about the president's son? No.
Yeah, I certainly, I, if anything, I admire him. Go do drugs and fucking have naked pool parties. Like, what a great time. I am not one to bash doing drugs and being naked. I like,
yeah,
that's all I want to do with my fucking time. But I love all these Republicans that are like, well, if you're coming for Trump, we have to come for Hunter.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't care.
Yeah.
Put Jill Biden in prison for all I give a fuck. What I want is healthcare and not to worry about getting shot when I go to a mall. It's pretty simple. I don't care how many of these people are in jail.
Yeah, when Trump is getting indicted and people are like, "Oh, what if Biden went to jail?" I'm like, "Fuck it, man. Let's make this a tradition. Let's get all of them in there. Like, let's get Jimmy Carter while there's still time."
Jimmy Carter is currently building a house for Habitat for Humanity.
You thought you got away with it, didn't you?
Hey, he can build his own jail cell. There you go.
Exactly.
But yeah, no, it's so fucking dumb. Like, you know, everything that they say is a lie. Like, you know, they say, oh, the justice system it's a two-tiered system of justice. It's rigged against us. And it's like, Hunter Biden is on trial for a routine gun violation that most people never go to trial for. And you're going to say that the system is biased for Democrats.
It's also,
like,
it is
it's
a two-tiered.
It's an insult to everybody's intelligence.
It is a two-tiered justice system, but it's rich white people versus poor people and non-white people. That's where the fucking divide is. And I wish more people would focus on that and like how poor people are just punished relentlessly and have fewer rights effectively than rich people, because I feel like if we could just get people to band together, I mean, there's the overwhelming majority of the country is not let me rephrase. There's so many people that cannot afford to fucking live on both sides. And if we could come together, I feel like we could really fuck shit up.
Yeah, I think that's right. But yeah, people they don't realize that they deserve better. Like that's really what it comes down to. You don't have to live with the shit that they are giving to you, the rich people. On the much saner side of the aisle, Julia Louis-Dreyfus had some great thoughts over the weekend when somebody asked her about some whining that Jerry Seinfeld has been doing recently about political correctness. And she said in response to that, when I hear people starting to complain about political correctness, and I understand why people might push back on it, but to me, that's a red flag because it sometimes means something else.
This feels like her being very diplomatic and also being like, hey guys, I worked with him. He's a racist.
It was, yeah, like she was like, you read between the lines here, guys, what I'm saying. And I think also like for her, she also, I mean, Jerry Seinfeld, because the real reason that he's been raging about, how audiences need to go fuck themselves, which is a great position for a comedian to say, but is that he supports Netanyahu. Like he loves Palestinian genocide, and he doesn't want you to tell him that that's bad and he shouldn't like it. So go fuck yourself. Like that's his position. That is what Jerry Seinfeld thinks. And so when he says that's political correctness to be angry at that, he can go fuck himself as far as I'm concerned.
I mean, I don't really think that Jerry Seinfeld's take on this is rooted in any particular type of politics. I don't think that Jerry Seinfeld has thought particularly deeply about any subject other than Jerry Seinfeld in a very long time. But
yeah.
like
and airline food.
the issue here is that if someone is interviewing a famous comedian, they have to fucking ask them this question about cancel culture because it gets clicks. Like if we stop asking everyone what their opinion is about this shit, we'll stop getting stuff from guys like Jerry Seinfeld who frankly don't know what the fuck they're talking about. I mean, I feel like he's probably just repeating something that he heard from one of his famous comedian friends. But the fact that this came out during the press tour for his Pop-Tart movie is so funny to me. Which, did you see it? Have you seen Unfrosted?
I haven't seen it, and I've heard
I have no intention of doing it.
Oh man, it's
I've
really
heard
something.
Top 10 worst movies ever.
It's really strange, like a bunch of people were saying that it's not funny at all. And I don't know if I agree with that. There are a shitload of jokes in there, but it's so soulless. Like it's filmed like an Old Navy commercial. And then there are just like so many famous people in this thing. Anyway, I don't know. I watched it just to be like, what the fuck is this thing? But yeah, I don't know. Like
you weren't high enough. That was the problem.
Yeah. The whole discourse around the Jerry Seinfeld, I mean the cancel culture discourse in general is very exhausting, but around the Jerry Seinfeld stuff in particular, it just feels so, I don't know, just unproductive to me. I don't think that he has any particular insight on this. I don't think that going in on Jerry Seinfeld for having bad opinions is really moving the needle much one way or another. But
granted, well, and she did say another thing, which I did want to give her kudos for, which is that she said that the bigger problem is the consolidation of money and power as it relates to the siloing of Hollywood studios, streamers, and distributors, which she said is a threat to art. And that's
1000%.
exactly correct. Like, but that's not, now you talk about cancel culture, like that's something you can't really say in the entertainment business, to be like, hey, I'm worried that they're going to kill off art by corporate consolidation.
I mean, she
can't say that.
Is entertainment royalty, so she can kind of say whatever. And I wish that like when they asked people like Jerry Seinfeld, who holds so much power in the industry, I wish he would speak to that and how the studios are fucking destroying entertainment and how everything is turning to AI. I'm like, you're not going to have to worry about quote unquote cancel culture in a couple of years because everything will be made by fucking AI, and people are now like at home doing a choose your own adventure, making up their own programming. It's like
and everything will be a sequel to Marvel and Star Wars. There will be no other movies.
But I mean, when you get right down to it, though, there's like, despite his position of power, there's almost no one who's, I think, less qualified to comment on the state of the industry than Jerry Seinfeld, because he's so insulated and just like, again, so incurious. He doesn't actually care about any of this stuff. Like, he'll give you an answer.
He's not affected by
anything. Question, but
with
the it's just so, this is sort of tangential, but like the whole cancel culture debate, I started reading Cliff Nesteroff's new book. He's a comedy historian who's really great, and he's got a new book called Outrageous, which is sort of a history of culture wars in comedy going back to like the vaudeville era. And I'm only about halfway through, but there's so much good shit in there. And one of the things that I really liked is there's a quote from D.W. Griffiths, the director of Birth of a Nation, where he's complaining about people being too sensitive because people kept rioting at showings of his pro Ku Klux Klan movie.
Oh my God.
So it's just like, this was in like 1915, so nothing ever fucking changes.
That is crazy.
It's true. Yeah, and censorship is wrong, you guys. Like, we need to have more Klan movies, according to Republicans.
I mean, the actual language he used was even worse. Is something like the film will forever be the slave of censorship, and it's like, Jesus Christ, man.
Fucking hell! It's these people. Nobody understands what the First Amendment is. Nobody understands what the fuck censorship is. I feel like all these psychos on the right, I mean, what they're actually complaining about is people not enjoying their material anymore. It's like, okay.
Yeah, I saw a clip of Anthony Jeselnik talking about this, and he had a line that I really liked, where he's like, Steve Martin had a quote that was like, comedy is getting away with it. But if you just say something and everyone gets mad at you, you're not getting away with it.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. I loved that. I mean, if you want to find it and insert it, Matt, it's a really great clip where he's like, because he's somebody that really pushes boundaries, but he's a fantastic joke writer. You know, for him, it's about the actual language and the structure of the joke, and it's jokes. He doesn't mean it. There's comics now that are just going on stage and saying insane shit, and they're like, "What? Yeah. I'm a comedian. I can say whatever I want." And I'm like, you're not writing jokes though. You're just saying slurs.
Yeah.
Well, you're just sounding like the drunk guy at the end of the bar who won't shut the fuck up. He's not a comedian, and no one thinks he is.
Everyone is so sensitive. You can't even do like a trans joke that would have been hacky 30 years ago. It's like, oh man, I can't even do stand up from 1990 anymore. It's like, yeah, dude, that's how fucking time works.
Hilarious.
No, it's true. And like, oh, go ahead.
People always like these people always like to use like stuff that already exists as examples. Like the classic is like, you could never make Blazing Saddles today. And it's like, why the fuck would you make Blazing Saddles today? It was made 50 years ago. Like, how many times do we need to make Blazing Saddles before you'll be happy?
Also, I feel like
it wasn't that great. I didn't think.
You're gonna have to cut that, Matt.
Yeah,
I will be no part of a podcast where you say that. Get the fuck out of here. But I think also, to your point, David, with Blazing Saddles, it's like that is always brought up, and I would make the argument that it can be made today. The people that are saying it can't be made don't know or remember or care that all the race stuff was they brought Richard Pryor on to write that stuff. Mel Brooks wasn't writing all that. It's like it wasn't a bunch of white guys writing slurs, and also the joke was on the fucking racists, and they were the butt of the joke in the
Yeah.
movie. The same with like All in the Family always gets brought up. Archie Bunker was not the hero of that, and Carol O'Connor actually came out and was really conflicted with even taking that part, because he was like, I don't want people to think that this guy is in the right for saying these things, and I don't
or
want...
that he's me,
Right.
And I agree with those viewpoints.
Mm-hmm.
But
no, it's true.
Even beyond just like satire, though, just sensibilities change, and people will be like, oh, Eddie Murphy couldn't have done Raw now, and it's like, well, he wouldn't have. It's like he would have, if Eddie Murphy was 22 years old now, he would do like, his comedic sensibilities would be completely different. If he came out with something now at that age, it would just not be like that, because not because of censorship or whatever, but because just like sensibilities change and people are interested in different things at different points in time. That's it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And one person I think who really does illustrate the continuity that good humor is good humor no matter what, time or year you're in, is Dick Van Dyke. So, I mean, Dick Van Dyke, everybody loves this guy. He's 98 years old, and he just won a Daytime Emmy Award. Like,
the oldest person to ever win a Daytime Emmy.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and like, and people still think he's funny. Like, because he understands that you have to have jokes about things that people are actually talking about and actually are relevant to their lives and the things that they're thinking about. And so, he's been somebody who has been very adaptable and, over his many decades long career. And it's great. Like, you love to see somebody that age still out there doing stuff. And he is just, he hasn't lost a step in terms of his brain. Like, it's great. It's great to see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's almost as if being kind your whole life keeps your brain intact. Which I used to work in. I waited tables in Malibu years ago, and he was a regular at the restaurant, so I got to meet him.
Cool.
And he was very sweet and an
really?
excellent tipper, and made friends out of all the waiters, and was very excited to help up and coming actors. And I just think he's the best. I think we should find a way to make him live forever.
Yeah, we got to put that guy in like the dollar bill or something, man. I'd love
please.
to see that. So yeah. All right. Well, that's our last story for the day. We have reached the end of the internet. So David, for people who want to keep up with what you're up to, what's your recommendations for them?
Yeah, you can follow me on X, the Everything app, at Twitey, TVEITE. I don't really post there much anymore because the world's smartest man made some changes that I didn't really agree with. But so I'm kind of just using it like the original Twitter, where I'm just like, go into the store or whatever, and it's like mostly
hilarious.
Pretty wholesome, I think. And then you can also follow me on Instagram at Kill Twitey. That's TVEITE. If you just put in Kill TV, I'll probably come up. And I'm posting stand-up clips on there and stuff. And then you can go to my website, davidtwitey.com, for upcoming shows and stuff. I'm going to be in Seattle next month, headlining at Club Comedy Seattle. So if you're around, come see me. That would be pretty cool. And yeah.
Very cool. You could please follow me on Instagram at Olympian Lisa Curry. That's all I want. I just need my Instagram numbers up so I can sell my fucking special when I start pitching it. That's it. And I don't have anything on the books until October in Germany. So that applies to, I'm sure, no one listening.
Yeah, well, I guess not. And everybody make sure to follow at Doomscroll Show and subscribe on all your favorite podcast platforms, and like and subscribe as they say on YouTube as well. So thanks a lot, and we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.